Welcome to the Tech on Toast podcast. My name's Chris Fletcher and I am your host. Summer's here and your restaurant's about to get busy. Packed patios, back-to-back tables and fans glued to the game on every screen. Come on, Harry Kane! It's one of the most exciting times but also one of the most demanding. When service spills onto the patio and orders start flying in, things can get chaotic fast. But what if you had a system built to keep everything flowing? Lightspeed is that system. It's a powerful EPOS and payments platform designed to help your team stay fast, focused and in control, no matter how busy it gets. With tableside, staff can take orders and payments anywhere, turning tables faster and keeping guests happy. Moving to the back of house, Lightspeed KDS keeps your kitchen running smoothly, so every order is clear, accurate and fired at the right time, even during peak rush. From front of house to the kitchen, Lightspeed connects everything, helping you reduce errors, speed up service and deliver standout guest experiences all summer long. This season, don't just keep up with the rush, own it with Lightspeed. Now enjoy the show. Welcome to the next episode of the Tech on Toast podcast. And today I'm particularly delighted to be joined by Visha Kudhail. Kudhail?
Kudhail. Yeah, you said it.
I'm famous for getting these wrong at everything. And the reason we're excited is because Visha used to be our boss in a weird way.
I really like that, even though I wasn't.
So when did we worked together on the Square project?
Yeah. And I love my period with Square because, to be honest with you, Chris, you actually helped me through that process so much more. I got to know the hospitality sector thanks to you. So.
No, it was good fun, actually. And I think working with you, because you're I would say a proper creative. Yeah. And we're going to get into this in a minute, but in a world of tech and AI surfacing and replacing lots of creative people at the moment, it's an interesting subject. So before we get into that, let's just talk about you a little bit, because your background is fascinating. And people put on YouTube X this, X that, X that in their job. You've got a few of them.
I've got a few.
Talk us through your background before we met you at Square. What had you done before that?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So experiences, everything, isn't it? So I actually started my career in sort of the TV entertainment world. So I actually was like working at Channel 4. Then I went to a company called Thinkbox, which is the trade body for commercial TV.
Very
when
cool.
It was very small, so very used to small companies. And then I decided to jump ship because I really wanted to understand technology. And at that point, digital was booming, the internet was commanding a lot of advertising attention, and I wanted to understand it more. So I went to Google. You may as well just go to the biggest company there is.
Where's Google?
A tiny company to a big company. And it was such an interesting transition because everyone carried around laptops and I turned up with my paper agendas like, shall we read from there? So it's just a different culture. I worked there for a few years working mostly on brand trust and reputation and elevating positive storytellings around YouTube and Google because of the climate at that point.
Yeah.
A very skeptical market that was quite sus about Google and YouTube at that point. And then I moved to Pinterest. And Pinterest was such a great point in my career as well because I was setting up an entire European function. It was new in the
So
market.
cool as well. Pinterest is mega.
Yeah, and really great people. I had an amazing boss who taught me so much about marketing, as well as the previous leaders I worked with. But this particular leader helped me learn so much more about great marketing, which goes into my book. And then I arrived at Square. But I do things outside of that too. I also do chairing and some advisory support as well with some boards and things like that.
Yeah, I see you everywhere. Obviously, you're releasing a book, which is what we're going to talk about today. But I see you a lot on LinkedIn popping about. And is there a constant through all those jobs? Is there something? Because what I find you mentioned your boss, which I think is really important, right? And I think through my career, I've always had. I remember my favourite jobs are ones where I had someone who taught me stuff.
Yeah.
Who really put time into me.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the same for you. Is that the one thing that, because you work for some mega companies, but was it more about what you were learning there?
Yeah, definitely about what I was learning there, because what's really interesting about starting somewhere small is you learn to be a bit more scrappier and you learn to cover a lot of ground. But I also worked with a really phenomenal leader. Tess Alps was the CEO when I joined Thinkbox, and I picked up the way she approached meetings and her etiquette with writing. There was some leadership lessons I was learning from her because I was watching her in the room. So sometimes when I see people wanting to work from home and in that hybrid nature, I'm just like, gosh, you end up missing out on all of these things you can learn from your bosses. And again, then when I moved to Pinterest, I learned so much from Andrea Mallard, who was the CMO there. She's now moved somewhere else. But paying attention to how people think about marketing is just, stuff you end up picking up.
I'm interested. Has it always been female bosses?
Yeah, I have had a male boss before as well.
He didn't get mentioned.
He's a good guy. I still keep in touch with him. But there's a lot of women.
And I think because while I'm listening to you talk, I'm thinking of, so we have a marketing community who work around MarTech and all that kind of in our world. And I'm thinking of them listening, watching you. A lot will be envious of your career, right? Or look at you and think, wow, what a great career. And I think that's why I wanted you on, because I think it's fascinating to hear about marketing. Sometimes it's shoeboxed into something that is done, it's talked about in a negative way sometimes, or it's, especially in hospitality, sometimes I think you'll hear a lot of marketers talk about the fact they feel like they're pushed into the corner a little bit, or don't have a seat at the table when it comes to decision making, which for me is mental when you're selling dreams and brand and product, that actually it should be the front.
Agree, and that's one of the reasons why I wrote this book as well, because I know I've come from quite big companies, the book is here, but also one of the learnings I got from Square was all learning about smaller businesses that are just working so hard in setting up a company, and all the operational side sometimes comes to the forefront. But this, like, why you started it, what your story is, such an important, integral part of that business and how you should be able to communicate it. So I actually do double down on, if you're not a big company, here's how you could apply some of the thinking behind it. So,
look, so if you show your book to your camera here, tell us what the name of the book is, and give us a little synopsis. Is that the right word?
I will give you a synopsis, and I
learned that word.
This is hot off the press because I don't even know where the camera is.
That's yours.
That's my camera. So hot off the press, I literally ran to the publisher right now to get it specifically for this podcast. But this is the first time I've actually seen it myself. It's a book on authentic marketing. It's all about understanding the core principles of what authenticity means. And so this is how you think about it as an operating principle rather than we're going to get on TikTok or whatever it might be. So this includes all of my learnings from nearly 2 decades working in marketing and with multiple different businesses. And the way I wrote this book was, so it's a reusable guide. I want you to learn.
Pick it up and put it down.
And put it down and take it with you. And as a person that's been doing the job, everything I put in here are real strategies, real frameworks, real ideas that I've applied in my day-to-day job that I've put in here. So it's less theory, but more practicality as well. Yeah. So I cover all of the grounds that I think is important to a modern marketing world as well.
And it doesn't matter. So the reason some people think, oh, tech on toast, why are you doing this? But actually, the reason I think this is interesting for us is because I don't think this is about a industry or a sector. This is about your marketing, right? This is about how you represent yourself or how you dream of putting yourself out there. And I think in a world of AI, which is drudgery, right, in terms of AI is fantastic, don't get me wrong, we're big advocates for it, but there's some content that's questionable everywhere. And LinkedIn, I don't even know if what I'm reading anymore is that person or something from Claude. And I think so my questions are asking me here, we're drowning in AI-generated content. Why would people care about this? But I actually think that this is the reality, right, that we need to come back to this and care.
For 2 reasons as well, because you've just called this out, but we're living in the most, I guess, untrustworthy world we've ever lived in right now. We've got rising misinformation, businesses changing so fast. Yes, there's AI content, but most of the time we're questioning what's real and what's not real. And there's a lot of political noise. So this is a very skeptical climate we're in. Also, cost of living crisis as well. People are very discerning about how they're spending money. Specifically, eating out has dropped to 38% of people are now eating out. So it's really hard for businesses that are now competing with other sectors of where people are spending their money. So you've got
and their time.
So we've got this kind of political and quite tough environment that we're in right now, and people are becoming more insular. So I saw that Endemol, who released the trust barometer year on year, they've been really focused on trust for the last, I think, 25, 26 years or something like that. They actually found that people are becoming more and more domestic, more local, and they're also rejecting AI because of the fact that there's just so much uncertainty around it. And the way I see it is, yes, I'm painting a very doom and gloom picture here, by the way, but I'm seeing...
I think it's reality.
It's reality, but also there's a space here now. There's an opportunity for brands, for business owners to really take space and go, right, okay, I'm just going to lean into their audiences, be more relatable, build connection, build with audiences, create community, and just draw that audience back in, because you'll start to stand apart, I think. So it's really important.
Ironically, fake news, the phrase that was coined by Mr. Trump, is actually, if that was a brand, he's done a really good job, right? Because it's literally become, like you just said, in everyone's psyche, you're reading stuff going, but is he right? Is that real? Should I question what the BBC say to me? Should I question? All of a sudden, so you're starting to wonder where you get your news from. The kids get it from TikTok, right? So my kids educate themselves through TikToks because they feel it's authentic. And the reason I say that leads into authentic because it's the name of your book. What does authentic mean to you in terms of, I suppose, from a marketing perspective? Because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, but we do authentic marketing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a really good question because I think, and seeing this from a media and tech side, especially in the advertising world, whenever people talk about authenticity, it's like, oh, here we go again. And it's because of the fact that we've misused it and we've used that word to the point where it doesn't actually mean
almost factory processed authenticity.
Yeah, and actually currently people think, oh, just jump on TikTok and that's what it is. But the way I look at authentic marketing and being authentic is about your words need to match your beliefs.
Yeah.
So don't just say you're going to do something and do something completely different. You've got to stay consistent with how you're talking to your customers, to how your marketing comes through. So really, it's an operating principle. It's where your tone, your message, and how your actions publicly in PR to how you talk to customers and to how your storytelling is in your marketing. So all of these things need to line up, and that's really, so it becomes broader than marketing almost.
It's difficult to do, right? Isn't it? It's not easy, is it? Or do you think if you have all those touch points in place, it is not easy is the wrong word? But
I think it is a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
But I do think it's easier to do when everybody understands what being authentic really is, because there's been a lot of confusion between being truthful and being authentic. A lot of people think, oh, if I'm just telling the truth, that's being authentic.
yeah, being real, as it were. Yeah.
But actually, what truth is about being factually accurate. Is my product doing what it's supposed to be doing? Am I transparent about pricing and things like that? But even truthful brands can come across being unauthentic. So authenticity is about the feeling you create. So to your point about your children, when they're looking at
How they get into this episode, I don't know, but go on.
The reality is they're probably connecting with the creator on the other end that they've built a connection with. So
100%.
the storytelling
Yeah.
that they believe in. And generally speaking, we kind of gravitate towards more regulated news pieces on TikTok, for example. That's why you see a lot of publishers now going on TikTok or on Substack.
I find it really interesting because if you go back to pre-digital and all that kind of stuff, football teams, bear with me here, everyone would wear their merchandise, right? Before we had digital online stores, before we had social media, before we had the internet, everyone would wear their fans' colours, right? And because they believe in that. They believe in their fan base and their purpose or whatever it might be. And I actually think it's quite interesting when you see how sport now uses the media front portal to do all that again, but now it's such a global business. And I do think that restaurant brands, particularly when I'm thinking about them, that I think it must be challenging in a world of high churn, lots of people turning over in their teams, low budgets, and ever-changing the ground underneath them, to keep that authenticity all the way through. But some do it really well. We had Ruth on here last week. She used to work at Pizza Pilgrims, and those guys have really bought into their journey. And and you wonder how long they can keep going, because it must be quite difficult as you scale to keep that. Do you see that as a challenge when people grow businesses, that actually some of that can fall by the wayside?
It can fall by the wayside, and I think the challenge really is just having good marketing principles within your business. And what happens quite a lot of the time is that you get folks just basically saying, let's just churn out content, which is very different to what's my brand promise, what's my philosophy, how do I then creatively tell that through the multiple different channels that I have. I guess with being in the hospitality sector, a lot of businesses utilize social a lot of the time. I have noticed such a shift in how a lot of companies are probably leaning a lot more on content creators, like a Topjaw or an Eating with Pod.
Yeah, that is interesting.
To help them tell their story.
Do you think it's because the third party telling the story is more authentic, or because it's telling real stories from users, end users, rather than them doing it themselves about themselves? Like Topjaw will talk about your brand for you with a famous person or whatever. But do you think that's because they're getting the eyeballs watching, actually believe them rather than believe the brand?
Potentially, I think there is something in that. You're completely right, because they built community.
Yeah.
But another thing is, I don't, and keep me honest here, I don't think a lot of hospitality brands have time to be thinking about their marketing. And usually it might be done at a very small scale. What I guess now they've become a bit more of a media production, people like Topjaw, but what they're doing is they're finding a talk showy type of concept, underrated, overrated, pretty simple concept, leaning into voyeurism, leaning into FOMO, and just building a really repeatable, scalable concept out of that. But they use good production, good filming, and they've been consistent with it. And I think it's just, do a lot of people, small businesses, have the time?
No, as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about all these people I know working these roles, and I'm thinking, God, no.
Yeah.
God, no. I think they're quite reactive.
Yeah.
I think they're probably reacting to someone in the boardroom saying, sales are down, average spend's down, I need to come up with a campaign next week to drive. Maybe it's not that brutal, but not too far off that, saying we need to drive traffic, what are we going to do?
And
marketing, over to you.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, if you're even working in a bigger company, we all have those challenges.
Yeah.
Every time I have been in any business, you have two things that you have to work against, right? You want to tell a great brand story because you want people to believe in you and create the desire for them to come back to you. Plus, you want your brand to stand the test of time as well and be memorable and add recall and things like that. The other point is that you got to keep the lights on in the business as well. So in any of the jobs I've worked in, I've had to work very closely with sales and keep an eye on the numbers. So it's just trying to make sure that you're utilizing the tactics that you've got at your disposal. And this is why strategy is so important and insight is so important. And that kind of work needs to that's the work you need to be able to do. What is it that I need to talk to my audience about? What is the insight? And I think research and understanding your audience is vital, which I think AI can actually help you with in terms of how...
Yeah, and I think that's, and when we talked about it before being the deluge of content, which some of it isn't great, actually the reality is that it can help, right? It can support your decision making and what you do with content rather than be the content, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I think it's so brilliant to help you with consolidating data, uncovering where your biases are. We all have biases.
Yeah.
I don't think I may have a different point of view to you. That's great. Diversity of thought, that's what we need. But actually, I think if I'm working alone as a lone ranger, having AI as your sparring partner is great. One of the reasons why I write this book as well is because I think we need to maintain critical thinking, not completely outsource our
I've been talking about staying curious, that's questioning what's being put in front of you.
Yeah.
From an AI perspective, just saying, yes, the bot seems accurate, seems correct, seems like my thought pattern would go there, but be curious, right? Keep asking the questions.
Yeah, so this is really interesting because I think if you, for example, put in a research document into an AI tool, it will probably give you some great insights. But the way AI scans is very different to how a human scans. So you still need to be a critical thinker and make sure that you're pulling out the right, correct insights. So I do have certain strategies of how to deliver on an insight. I cover data in over 3 chapters because I think it's really, really important.
It's massive.
And I think what it can do as well is just in multiple different businesses, what you tend to get is research in pockets. Product marketing might do a research study, brand equity studies are happening, brand health tracker studies are done, sales conversations are happening. Could AI pull together all of the data points for you and consolidate some data for you?
100%.
So you're reusing stuff that's already existed in the company. That is a great way of using AI, I think. But again, back to the question about, are we still relatable? We still need to have great frameworks in place to be able to be relatable to an audience. So, and that always comes from a powerful insight. So as an example, a great audience insight basically just helps you understand how people think, behave, and why they do what they do.
Yeah.
And a great insight meets 3 tests. It's what's your brand truth, so what's your brand promise? So is that insight baked into the truth that you know? Sorry.
That's all right, we got you.
Second one is relatability. Does it relate to your product or your category? And the third thing is actionability. So does that insight shift behavior? Can it have the power to shift behavior? Or can it shape your marketing strategy? So I have been in companies where I've walked in and I thought, oh, great, I'm glad we've got these goals here. And then when I look deeper into the audience insight and the data and trying to unpack that, I'm just like, do we have the right strategy, actually? And it helps you.
I bet you're a pain, aren't you, Visha?
I know. helps you go, well,
Can I just
actually,
redo
now-
all of this?
you then shift it in the right direction. And I think that's what great insight does.
It's fascinating you mentioned data. We just come off me and Gracie have been at an event this morning on top of a building somewhere in London, and not on the roof, in a room. But one of the big outcomes of that conversation, unfortunately around AI again, but was around the data behind it, as in there is no point applying anything to anything if your data isn't clean and accurate and makes sense. And I think the same will apply to audience and to where you've gathered your data, how you've opt in, opt out, whatever it might be, the stuff you've got that you're marketing yourself on. Because again, if that's not right, or if you're not leaning into it properly, or if it's not, then you're going down the wrong path anyway, right?
Yeah, and it also adds the science behind your work.
Yeah.
It adds the substance and it adds the rigor. It gives you thought leadership, and people feel like they're seen in your work. And I think that's the most important part. At the moment, there's a lot of, to your point earlier on, there's a lot of stuff out there. Does it mean anything?
Yeah.
It's just feeding.
I genuinely believe that there's a lot of content being produced because people feel like they need to. They need to be out there and open. And I've got to go back to my questions because I'm side-libbing always. Ad-libbing is the word, sorry. You talk about trust quite a lot in the book and how you win on trust. I think you alluded to it a little bit at the start. What, I mean, I know without giving away too much in the book, but is there a framework people work around? Or it says here, if we've got a trust problem, what's the first thing you do to help them get over that?
Yeah. So the way I've approached it in previous companies, I'll use a real example. Trust is like the connecting thread throughout this entire book. When I was at Google, it was a difficult period actually, because I think it was brand safety. People were taking their advertising off YouTube, and there was lots of conversation around walled gardens, which I guess is a common thread with most tech businesses at the moment because they hold on to a lot of the data. But so the way I worked around that was I had a very, my role was brand trust, and really building trust with the audiences that we were trying to connect with was firstly using third-party advocates, what I call B2B influencers, to advocate for.
Are we B2B
Google.
influencers?
You are. And the other thing is all the work behind the scenes that people don't see.
Yeah.
A lot of the work that Google was doing at that point was bringing in more machine learning, more people to review ads and things like that. So there was a lot around the policy part that people just didn't really realize. And how you can actively look at your settings and things like that. So just like, hey, by the way, there are ways for you to control, and trying to build connections and trust with people through that. And then when I moved to Pinterest, obviously it was a smaller company that was in a space where it was competing with like TikTok and Google and Meta. And really, like Pinterest's trust narrative was coming through from the fact that it was always thinking about proactive policies, always thinking about the audience, always putting inspiration at the heart of what they did. And lifting that as a story was really important because it was meeting an unmet need. And that was the insight. People at that point felt, the internet is a dark and scary place. Where do I go? And suddenly Pinterest was able to say, but we've been trying to tackle this for such a long time. Here you go. We're a good platform for you. So that's when I...
Yeah, and they do feel like that, don't they?
Yeah.
Even without being a regular... My kids, my wife uses it for house stuff, anything she's looking at for house inspiration, whatever. And it does feel like a safe space or a trusted place.
A safe space.
Yeah.
And I think just going back to your question about how do you build trust, it's really doubling down on that unmet need. Like, what is it the thing that people are really lacking? And how can you be the brand, the business that can deliver on that? Because otherwise everyone sounds and looks the same.
It's really interesting because as you're saying, I'm thinking of all the tech guys, right? So you were working with Square, and there's lots of people in that in the POS market. As you found out, there's 600 and different EPOS systems. Good luck. So all of a sudden you're in a very crowded space, and how do you fill the need of the single site guy, like you said, the green groceries needs an EPOS and payment system? It's very interesting, isn't it? And it's not a quick fix, is it? This is a long game. And you talk a bit about culture being the brand rather than a marketing team building the brand up. It's more about the leadership and the behaviors of the company that actually build that.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting with fintech and also tech as well is that you have sales in external facing roles, partnerships in external facing roles. You've got lots of people that can be the voice and the advocate, and I always feel like I don't know why this happens if I'm completely honest with you, but the brand story is not just for the marketing team. It shouldn't just be reserved for the marketing rooms and the creative rooms. Everybody owns that. And I think everybody owns the messaging. The marketing team is accountable. They're the people that have to do it, deliver on it, make sure it happens. But it's part of everybody's story. And one of my biggest frustrations has been that whenever I go into a company, I'm just like, this is your stuff. This is your ad.
Yeah.
I might be doing it with the team. This is your message. So really having, and I've had to be really pushy in this as well, trying to get more people to adopt messaging so it becomes a part of your language.
Yeah. Oh, God. 100%. And it's so... Because we work with so many products. And I would say 5 times out of 10, I'm disappointed with what the front end looks like. And I'm talking about humans here, compared to what I feel like it feels like, if that makes sense. So when I go on the website, it's like, this feels like a bit of me. I really like their brand. I think they're cool. I'd probably buy this if I was an operator. But then I meet the front part, and it's not everybody, but as I said, 1 in 2 times I'll probably meet someone and go, oh, it's a bit disappointing.
I know. It's because we haven't connected the why to buy.
Yeah.
And actually sales would always be like, this is why you buy. And the marketing goes, hi. And those
And here's a video. Yeah.
And then it's actually, those worlds need to come together. And actually, and then also it has a slightly larger role there as well, because then you think about product teams that need to keep the values in place so that the product actually does do what
the sales team are telling people,
what salespeople are saying. But then also when you've got your CEO, your founder actively talking on LinkedIn, in the press, they're able to communicate in a very simple way why people should really care about this business and this brand, and then talk about, but this is what we're doing for the business. This is how we're growing it. So that's what I mean about the internal brand culture. It has to be superseded across all parts.
How does marketing lead that? Because that must be, because you've worked, we're just saying, hey, Google, YouTube, and you could argue that those brands are marketing themselves just by being alive, right? They're present and they're so big that they're, Visha, like, no, Chris. And then Square, you could argue in the POS space, were fighting for their share of the pie, right? They want to be in the room with the other guys. How does a marketing leader fight those 2 different battles as it would be?
Yeah. Firstly, you need to be able to have good roll-up programs. Yep. So what I mean by this is, don't just do a campaign and just put it out on air, not tell anybody about it. Have a good roll-up program so that you're able to tell people what it is, what it's about, what the core messages are, so that you're able to basically get the teams ready, right?
Yeah.
You would do that with the CEO anyway, because the founder or the CEO, because they would have to go out and do the press behind it. So I think it's just like having a really good strategy around that. And I guess to your other question around, I think you asked me about, I've lost it actually. It was around...
Where are we? Google, YouTube. I'm saying that actually in Google, YouTube, they self-market themselves, where Square are trying to fit into a world where they need to, not in payments, but in POS, they were trying to become a player.
I think so. This is really interesting because there are so many channels right now. And again, going back to the hospitality sector, you're fighting for share of wallet against travel now.
Yeah.
Because do somebody want to eat out, or do they want to save up to go on a big fancy holiday or a beach holiday?
Just talking about that.
Yeah. So this is what exactly is how people are thinking about spending their money. So every sector now needs to think about how they show their value. And there was this really great thing that I remember Ben Silberman, who's the founder of Pinterest, he was CEO at the time I was there, and he came to a sales meeting and he said, we need to earn the right of being in the sales. We need to earn the right to be in the room with the customer. And that always stayed with me because, and I think no matter how big you are, you always have to earn the right to be in the room with the customer. You always have to show up well. You have to show that you have meaning and why 100%. You're there. Yeah.
I hope we would get to that point, because I was just like, it's such a big message to the people that listen to this, because a lot of them are some of the tech companies, and I think that you've got to follow it through, and it's got to come and feel like when you're in the room with the Pizza Pilgrims and the Hawksmoors or whoever, that actually you've earned the right to be there.
Yeah.
And when you're there, let your product do the talking alongside your great humans that are leading it, and hopefully it'll land. But it's just, I feel like sometimes we're in a race to get there too quick.
We are. I think so. And also, and this is where your storytelling, you need to have enough storytelling and inspiration to reach hearts, and enough substance in, like, I've earned the right to be in.
I love it, and it works.
And it works. Yeah. And this is a valuable piece of your time, and show some case studies and show some innovation and how it works. And this is why social proof is so important in the hospitality sector, because it's such a community. There's a lot of advocates that might believe in a certain product and they want to buy off the back of that as well. So I think having those really robust case studies are really important, which I know where you have leaned in so much with thought leadership and case studies.
Yeah, it's hard, and I think we obsess we have a lot of content, and sometimes myself, Grace, and the guys will always question ourselves on, are we using it properly? We made a video together for Bread Ahead Bakery in Wembley, and that story was really about, that video was really about the Matthew's journey and how he cares about, he was banging plates everywhere and doing his bakery stuff, and it really showed that story. But that one bit of content for us, we use that for everyone. We show everybody that when we use an example of what storytelling, good storytelling looks like, we show that to everybody.
I actually love that too, and I don't know if I told you this, but I actually put that into people's onboarding documents. So it's a fast way for them to understand if they learn it through the customer.
Yeah.
Because actually we do have reams of information, which is great, and this is what you need to be learning, but just hearing it from a customer.
Yeah, and in 2 minutes to feel impacted.
Yeah.
I think it's so hot in such a noisy space where you're getting told so much stuff, particularly in onboarding or where you're joining a company. There's so much stuff being thrown, to actually sit back and go, I get it.
Yeah.
We're side by side with these people. We're fighting and we're growing his business. That's the message I got from that video, that Square, like his friend, is digital. What do we call it? Digital. I can't remember what it was now. Digital something. I can't remember.
Digital partner or something.
I can't remember. Oh no, they're analog business, and we're our digital partner.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
And I really loved it. And I think we have to be talking to people. We have to, marketers, business owners, founders, whoever you are, you've got to be able to talk to customers and really see things through their lens as well. Marketers do this all the time. You can't create a campaign or anything without looking at the data and seeing what is the differentiating factor. Maybe we think it's an ecosystem, but then suddenly someone says, I think you've got a sexy product, and actually I quite like reporting, and then suddenly you're like, wait a second. So you've got to see things through the lens of the customer a lot of the time too. So just finding ways to balance both of those things.
Read the book.
Read the book.
I'm going to fly through a few last questions here. Opening of your book talks about a world of AI noise and constant disruption. And we talked about it a little bit at the start. Is it going to make fake authenticity easier? Is that when we talk about what we're talking about now, where authentic isn't really authentic sometimes, it's people just pumping out content. Do you think eventually it will enable that or not? What is fake authenticity?
I don't know.
Yeah. So,
I feel like if you look at brands like Coca-Cola, for example, I think they tried to do some stuff.
are you talking about their Christmas ad?
Yeah.
I knew you were.
And and I think they were trying to lean into a specific moment, and it backfired because you can tell when something's over.
Surely, Visha, if you were working at Coke and that came across your desk and they were like, it's ready to go, Visha, you were like, no.
No. I think this is where people want to... What that ad did was simply feed the content machine. It wasn't the beautiful ad that we all remember where
as a kid you remember Santa,
and it feels real. So it's a bit of a shame, and I think they've learnt from that, and they've got a governance team off the back.
I'm looking forward to seeing what they do this year, because they're going to have to go gangbusters, aren't they, to almost put that to bed. I don't know, but sometimes good content is as good as bad content, right?
Like right now, we've got to go back and listen to what audience are saying. So at the moment, like I called out earlier on, people are skeptical about AI. 2 in 1 people are in well-developed countries are rejecting AI. And that's a number we can't ignore at the moment. So that's rising because of the fact that they just feel a bit fed up of seeing AI-generated content. And we're seeing searches go up for things that are more analog. So more people are going towards craft and doing things in real life and painting, which is actually a signal right now, which is people are moving away from even smartphones. That dumb phones, as Guardian has represented it, has risen by 25% because...
Dumb phones. I think I've got a dumb
Gen Zs
phone.
are now moving towards flip phones at the moment. And these are cultural shifts that we've got to pay attention to. So where we do use AI, because I guess it should be good, it should be used for productivity and efficiency, not as a cost-cutting exercise and removing people, as people really matter to get great work done, as the Coca-Cola example we just talked about. But also, you just don't want your audience rejecting you in the long run, and that's exactly what's going to happen. The more AI-generated content we're going to see, or fake authenticity, as you put it, which I quite like, and I'm going to nick that, we are going to be turning people off. It's easy for...
I do feel like, we've worked a lot in-house at Tech on Toast with Claude and all this kind of stuff, doing some bits. I do feel like, even in our little world, we've reached a little peak with it recently. We've all gone a bit... All right, we've built a load of internal systems. It all looks great. It's all working well, but maybe we'll just have a little break now, because it just felt like the last 6 months, particularly in our company, as I was saying, that we over immersed ourselves in it a little bit, and then when you're doing events, there you meet people, press the flesh, you say hello, people have a hug. It's so much better. Such a nicer world to live in. It really is. I'm hoping that is a trend that we're going to see everywhere. If you were starting a brand today from dot from zero with everything you know, what's the first thing you'd build and first thing you'd refuse to do?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I know, these are good.
Yeah.
It's like I got them out of a cracker or something. All right, I've got time.
The first thing I would do is diagnose the problem. So what exactly is, no, actually, the first thing I would do is understand exactly what my brand truth is. What is it that I want to do? Because once you start with your brand truth and your promise to the world, everything goes from there, I think. And then also, of course, your monetization strategy as well. Look, being authentic is great, but being like you've got
Profitably authentic.
You've got to be, and you've got to drive profit.
Yeah.
And I use examples in the book of power brands that have been authentic through and through, and the way they've actually delivered on profit consistently, and actually they've stayed true to the test of time.
I think those people, Patagonia, people like that, who have just
Nike.
consistently delivered, Nike, delivered their message for years.
Yeah.
And just don't waver, ever. From a brand, they've never even had a scandal. Or they might have, but I don't remember it.
Yeah.
But it just feels like they just get it right every time they come back.
Yeah.
They hit it out the park.
And what you realise is you know what to expect from them.
Yeah.
Because of that. And that's when it's...
Because we're driving it, probably.
Work, yeah.
Like unwittingly, we were telling them already, so that's why we're nodding, going, oh yeah, that's exactly what we
Yeah.
think Nike should do.
And one of the other interesting brands that I discovered, only because I heard the CEO speak on CNN, was e.l.f. And I talk about this example all the time, but he speaks quite a lot about making sure that he has D&I is a value of theirs, but also beauty. Everyone looks different, skin tone's different. It's a real big part of how they manage their staff. So they actually have a very diverse workforce, diverse ways of product development. Their campaigns reflect that too. So they are through and through really thinking about diversity. That's their value. And what's really interesting is that their profits went up again, and they've actually been a brand that stands up to. I think they did a campaign against Trump when the D&I policies came out as well.
Oh,
so
yeah.
they've been quite significant about staying true to what they believe in, and customers are following them.
And that's why I think even in the face of adversity, you have to, because I work for a company called Pie Minister. I mentioned them twice today, actually. But Pie are obsessed. John and Tristan, who work there, are the gatekeepers of that brand, the owners of it, and they will not. The sustainable angle, everything they go from, they really care about the planet and what they do, and they literally will lose money over it. Yeah. But on the long run, they make money. But I think they will make decisions that will hurt them because they want to stay true. And I think that's what we're talking about, right? The people who are prepared to stand up and go, actually, this is what we are, this is what we do. And if we're going to hit a bump in the road, then so be it. But that's what we believe in.
Yeah, and that's where you start to build a customer base of loyalists and believers.
Yeah.
Rather than people that may just see your content, maybe like
flitting in and out.
And are in and out. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the book for 2 minutes. Gracie's shouting at me, telling me to hurry up. The book lands, when is it out?
It's out on the 3rd of June.
Oh, my birthday's the 1st of June, so you could buy it for my birthday. And I'm guessing you can buy it everywhere.
You can buy it everywhere in the US and other international markets. It's out on the 3rd in the UK, on the 30th of June in the US as well.
Lovely. And what do you hope? What's the? I suppose if you had a plan, we'll go again. I'm going to hold you up now to your own mantra here. So if you had a plan before you started the book, where are you on that plan? Where are you on that journey?
Yeah, for me, obviously I'm a marketer. I've got a marketing campaign.
Yeah, we were telling us about launch week, which I wasn't surprised about.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I've got several events I'm doing, an out-of-home campaign I'm doing.
I guess you want me to release this amongst launch week? Yeah, of course we will. Yeah, of course we will.
The thing that matters to me the most is the message, just to the point that we just talked about. When I was approached about writing this book, I didn't realise how important it was. I think having some really great skill sets in the teams that you work with is critical, but also I also think that we're in this time where things could turn in one direction or they can turn in the other direction. And I think we need to give the people that we work with permission to do things differently if we want our brands to stand out and be strong in this very strange period that we're in. And embrace AI really positively, strategically. I cover AI in a lot of detail in this, but like how should we be thinking about it from a productivity point of view or things like that. So that's my hope. I would love more people to learn good marketing practices, and also I just would love for more businesses to embrace being more authentic, because I just feel like we're going to be turning people off.
No, I love it. I think it's great. And do you know what? Never stop learning. That's the one thing I love most about our event, that you're doing what we do, because we get, every time we meet someone or read something, then we educate myself, and I'm getting older, right? But I'm still learning every day, which I think it's just great fun. If you're not into that, then you're not in the right place. Go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But if you're into that, then pick up a copy of this and get into Visha's head for a little bit, because we've worked with her one-on-one outside of this book, and it was brilliant, right? I think it was 6 months we worked. I don't know how long it was. Was it longer than that?
Yeah, actually.
It felt like 6 months.
It felt like 6 months.
So that's what I mean. That's better then. That's better then. Yeah. But I think sometimes to work with someone like that, you're working through Slack and everything. We only met a couple of times in person, I think, during events. But I think to see your brain on paper is fascinating, because we always said, my team, when we were working with you, that actually hugely complimentary, but particularly around, out of all, God, I don't want to offend anyone here, but around a lot of the people that we would partner with, you're probably the most brand heavy person we've met, who has really just kept asking a lot, asking about how we get the brand through this, how do we make sure the story ends up in the right place. So that for us is, and I'm a big brand advocate. I think brand is everything when you're trying to sell something or trying to build something. So yeah, we appreciate you, and I hope you get everything you want from your book. Is there anywhere they need to go? Particularly, is there a website or anything like that?
Yes, there is a website. So I've got a website, and the pre-order link is.
In fact, you should be holding it. You're talking. You hold it to your camera. I'm just standing at home, but no one's looking at me.
It's the first time I'm holding it. But yes, it is available to buy, and there's a pre-order link as well. So
Okay.
It is out, and then obviously on the 3rd of June it'll be out in the physical form. So you can actually.
How exciting! And can people come and find you on LinkedIn, have a chat to you?
Yeah, they can find me on LinkedIn and have a talk with me as well. And in this, yeah, I've got lots of endorsers, but to your point about being curious,
Yeah.
I interviewed a lot of people in the industry who I truly respect, and they helped me shape this book as well. Because I think, to your point, we need people to help form our plans and strategy.
My company was built on hanging out with other people and getting their opinion.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to do the same thing with the book.
Yeah.
Will you do another book after this? I know, I'm probably racing down the road. That's how I think. I'm just next.
I have got another book in me, actually, but it depends. It might be a very different type of book. Now that I've learned, this has been an interesting learning curve of how to write a book, because we're all so used to short form content.
Yes.
So this was a very different discipline.
No, but I think that's the thing about learning. Sometimes you've got to, I have to force myself to read a book. I am Mr. Fly by night. So just to sit down and engage. But as I get older, I am doing it more, because I'm needing to stay in touch and also understand what the hell I'm meant to be doing in the first place.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's important.
I am exactly the same, and I am listening to a lot of audiobooks.
Yeah.
Such a great way of getting information.
Oh yeah, audiobook, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do that when I'm walking the dog.
Although this is not on audiobook, so please buy the book.
Note. Thank you, Visha. Lovely to see you. Go and buy the book, everyone. Please, it's brilliant. It's out on June the 3rd. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.